Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. The late afternoon sun cast harsh shadows across the West Loop construction site as Cormac Mac Calloway inspected the steel beams of what would soon be Chicago's newest luxury high-rise. Construction dust clung to his tailored charcoal suit, but he paid it no mind. At 39, he'd built Calloway Industries from nothing into a construction empire that dominated the Midwest, and he never shied away from getting his hands dirty. Mr. Calloway, Tom Richards, his site foreman, jogged over with a tablet in hand. The structural engineers found an issue with the foundation on the east side. Mac took the tablet, his steel-gray eyes scanning the report. "Show me." They walked through the organized chaos of the construction site, heavy machinery moving around them like well-choreographed dancers. Workers nodded respectfully as Mac passed. They knew their boss wasn't some soft-handed executive who gave orders from an ivory tower. "See here?" Tom pointed to a section of exposed foundation. "The soil composition is different than what the initial survey showed." Mac crouched down, running his calloused fingers over the concrete. "Call Martinez at Foundation Solutions. Tell him I want a full reassessment by tomorrow morning." He stood, brushing dust from his knees. "And Tom? Make it clear that if he can't deliver, I know 3 other companies that can." "Yes, sir." Mac's phone buzzed a text from his father, Silas. "Need to talk. Important." He ignored it for now. The old man, a retired mob enforcer, had taught him everything he knew about power and control, but business came first. That he spent another hour on site, making decisions that would impact millions of dollars worth of work. Each choice was calculated, precise. In Mac's world, there was no room for error or weakness. Finally satisfied, he headed to his Range Rover. 3 missed calls from Silas now. Something was wrong. His father never called more than once unless it was serious. The drive home took him past several Calloway Industries projects. Office buildings, residential complexes, shopping centers. Each one a testament to his determination. His refusal to stay in the gutter where he'd started. His thoughts turned to his children. Adrian would be finishing his math homework about now. The boy was brilliant with numbers just like his father. And Tessa, she'd probably be working on another drawing for his office wall. At 7 and 5, they were the only pure things in his world of concrete and steel. The security gate of his Lakeshore Drive mansion swung open as he approached. Something fell off. The house lights were on, unusual for this hour. Ellen, their housekeeper, always left at 5, and Sienna was typically at her yoga class or some charity function. Mac killed the engine, his jaw tightening. His father's call suddenly seemed more ominous. The front door opened silently on well-oiled hinges. The foyer's marble floor gleamed under recessed lighting, and the scent of jasmine, Sienna's favorite candle, hung thick in the air. Mac's footsteps echoed as he moved through the house. That Adrian's math homework lay scattered across the formal dining room table. Mac paused, checking the work. Perfect scores, as usual. Pride mixed with something darker, a fierce protectiveness. He'd crawled out of poverty to give his children everything. No one would ever threaten that. Tessa's latest drawings lined the hallway, bright splashes of crayon depicting their family. Mac in his suit, Sienna in her fancy dresses, Adrian playing soccer, Tessa herself with a bright pink bow. Happy lies in primary colors. The living room doors were closed, another anomaly. Mac paused, listening. The soft clink of glass against glass reached his ears, followed by a woman's low laugh. Sienna's laugh, but different somehow. Harder, colder. He pushed open the doors, and the foundation of his carefully built world began to crack. Sienna lounged on their imported Italian leather sofa, a vision in black silk that rode high on her thighs. Her dark hair cascaded over bare shoulders, and a half-empty wine glass dangled from her manicured fingers. Red wine. The expensive stuff is from his private collection. "You're home early," she drawled, her lips curving into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "No more sites to micromanage?" Max set his briefcase down, studying his wife of 10 years. Something in her posture, in the gleam of her eyes, screamed danger. He'd seen that look before in opponents, just before they tried to undercut him on a deal, in rivals before they attempted a hostile takeover. "Where are the children?" His voice was level, controlled. At my mother's, Sienna took another sip of wine, watching him over the rim of her glass. I thought we needed some adult time. The way she said it, like a weapon wrapped in silk, made his fingers itch to clench into fists. Instead, he loosened his tie, maintaining his composure. What's this about, Sienna? She laughed, a brittle sound that echoed off the vaulted ceiling. Always so direct. That's what I used to love about you, Mac. No games, no pretense. She stood, swaying slightly. But now it's just boring. You're boring. Work, work, work. Buildings and contracts and meetings. The empire you enjoy didn't build itself, Mac replied evenly. Oh, the empire. Sienna's voice dripped sarcasm as she crossed to the wet bar, her heels clicking against the hardwood. The great Callaway Industries. You know what your empire got me? Empty nights. Cold beds. A husband who comes home smelling like concrete and steel instead of cologne. Mac watched her pour another glass, noting how her hands trembled slightly. A predator's instinct told him to wait, to let her reveal her hand. If you have something to say, say it. Sienna turned, leaning against the bar. Her smile turned vicious. I found someone else, Mac. Someone who knows how to make a woman feel alive. Someone who doesn't live on job sites and conference calls. The words hung in the air between them. Mac's expression didn't change, but something cold and dangerous unfurled in his chest. Oh, Cruz. She practically purred the name. My personal trainer. He's 26, gorgeous, and absolutely insatiable. She pushed away from the bar, moving closer. We've been seeing each other for months. In fact, I'm meeting him tonight. He does things to me that you've forgotten how to do. Mac remained perfectly still as she approached, noting every detail. The slight slur in her words, the way her pupils were dilated, the faint tremor in her hands that betrayed her nervousness despite her bravado. And here's the best part, Sienna continued, now close enough that he could smell the wine on her breath. If you try to leave me, if you even think about divorce, I'll make sure you never see Adrian and Tessa again. I'll destroy you in court. I'll tell everyone what a cold, neglectful bastard you really are. Her smile widened. Oh, and our marriage? It's open now. I'm free to see whoever I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. She waited, clearly expecting him to explode, to rage, to beg. Instead, Mac met her gaze with eyes like Arctic ice. All right. The single word seemed to throw her completely off balance. She blinked, her smile faltering. What? I said all right. Mac's voice was soft, almost gentle. Is that all? Confusion flickered across Sienna's features, quickly replaced by anger. Is that all? Did you hear what I said? I'm sleeping with another man. I'm going to take your children. I heard you. Mac picked up his briefcase. Enjoy your evening with Cruz. I have work to do. He turned and walked out, leaving her standing there with her wine and her threats. In the foyer, he pulled out his phone and dialed a number from memory. Nolan? Meet me at Gibson's in 30 minutes. We need to talk. As he walked to his car, another text from his father lit up his phone. She's making her move. Call me. Max started the engine, his mind already calculating the moves ahead. Sienna thought she'd won the first round. She had no idea the game had barely begun. Gibson Steakhouse hummed with the quiet energy of old money and power deals. Mac found Nolan Graves already waiting in their usual corner booth, a tumbler of scotch in front of him. At 42, Nolan had the sharp features and shrewd eyes of a man who'd spent his life outsmarting opponents in courtrooms across the country. You sounded urgent on the phone, Nolan said as Mac slid into the booth. What's wrong? The waitress appeared, and Mac ordered a double whiskey neat. He waited until she was out of earshot before speaking. Sienna's having an affair with her personal trainer. She just told me herself. Nolan's eyebrows shot up. Bold move. What else? She threatened to take the kids if I try to divorce her. Says she'll destroy me in court. Mac's voice remained steady, but his eyes had taken on the cold, focused look that had made him infamous in Chicago's business world. She wants an open marriage. Jesus. Nolan leaned back, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. What do you want to do? The waitress returned with Mac's whiskey. He took a slow sip, savoring the burn. I want to destroy her, Nolan. Not just beat her, destroy her. I want her to understand exactly what happens to people who betray me. She'll fight dirty. You know that, right? She'll try to paint you as an absentee father, a workaholic who neglected his family. She'll go after your reputation, your company. Let her try. Mac's voice was ice. She thinks she's won because I didn't react. She thinks I'm weak because I didn't beg her to stay. I want you to help me make sure she drowns in her own victory. What's your play? Mac pulled out his phone, showing Nolan a series of photos he'd quietly had his security team compile over the past few months. His instincts had warned him something was wrong, and he'd listened. First, we secure my assets. Everything goes into offshore accounts and blind trusts. I want it ironclad. She doesn't get a penny more than legally required. His fingers tapped against the glass. Then we get Jennifer Blake. Nolan whistled low. The divorce attorney? She's expensive. She's the best. And she owes me a favor after that development deal in Lincoln Park. Mac's eyes narrowed. I want temporary custody of the kids while we build our case. I have documentation of every time Sienna chose her yoga classes over school events. Every night she didn't come home. And the trainer? Cruz. A cold smile touched Mac's lips. Oh, I have plans for Cruz. By the time I'm done, he'll wish he'd never set foot in my gym. Mac. Nolan's voice was cautious. Whatever you're thinking. Nothing illegal, Mac assured him. Just a little psychological warfare. Plant some seeds of doubt. Make him question Sienna's loyalty. Let their own insecurities do the work for us. He finished his whiskey. I learned from my father, remember? The old mob way hit them where it hurts, but make it look like they did it to themselves. This is going to get ugly. It already is. Max signaled for another drink. She threatened my children, Nolan. She thought she could use them as leverage against me. His voice dropped to a near whisper. Nobody threatens my children. His phone buzzed a text from Sienna. Don't wait up. Spending the night with Cruz. He showed it to Nolan. She's getting sloppy, leaving a paper trail. Save everything. What about your father? Does Silas know? He's been trying to warn me all day. Mac's jaw tightened. The old man always said betrayal deserves a special kind of punishment. They spent the next 2 hours planning, strategizing, setting up the chess pieces for the game to come. Mac laid out his strategy for Cruz's anonymous tips to other wealthy clients about inappropriate behavior, carefully staged photos with other women, whispered rumors about his past relationships. And the influencers? Nolan asked. I own shares in their management company. They'll do what they're told. Mac's smile was razor-sharp. A few flirtatious posts, some suggestive comments. Nothing obvious. Just enough to make Sienna doubt. By the time they finished, it was past midnight. Instead of going home to an empty house, Mac drove to his office downtown. The Callaway Industries building stood 40 stories tall, a monument to his success and determination to eye in his corner office. Mac stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over his city. Chicago sprawled before him, a maze of lights and shadows. Somewhere out there, his wife was in another man's bed. Thinking she'd finally broken him, his phone rang. Silas, son, his father's gravelly voice came through. You got my messages? I did. You were right. Always am about these things. A pause. What are you going to do about it? Mac's reflection stared back at him from the window, tall, imposing, a man who'd clawed his way up from nothing. What you taught me to do, Dad. Make them regret ever crossing a Callaway. That's my boy. Pride colored Silas's voice. Need any help? Not yet, but I'll let you know. Mac ended the call and pulled out his laptop. There would be time for sleep later. Right now, he had an empire to protect and a war to win. Sienna wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn why Chicago's business world called him the Ice King. The sun was rising over Lake Michigan when Mac finally left his office, his plan taking shape in his mind. In his world, there was no room for mercy, no space for forgiveness. There was only victory or destruction, and Cormac Callaway never lost. 3 weeks after Sienna's confession, Mac sat in Jennifer Blake's office, reviewing the divorce papers. The elite attorney's corner office overlooked Millennium Park, the morning sun glinting off the bean in the distance. Everything's in order, Jennifer said, her designer glasses perched on her nose. filed under seal to keep it quiet. When do you want to serve her? Mac checked his watch, custom Patek Philippe, a reminder of his first billion-dollar deal. Not yet. I have a dinner reservation at Alinea tonight. Jennifer's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. You're taking her to dinner? That's unexpected. The best attacks come from unexpected directions. Max stood, straightening his tie. How's the custody arrangement? Temporary custody papers are ready. Given the documentation you provided of her activities, the judge is likely to rule in your favor. Jennifer handed him a thick folder. But Mac, be careful. The dinner plan, I know what I'm doing. Back in his office, Mac made 2 calls. The first to Nolan. Everything's set with the gym situation. Mac asked without preamble. Cruz's termination papers are ready. Anonymous complaint about inappropriate behavior with clients, backed by some very convincing evidence. Nolan's voice held a note of admiration. The timing? After dinner tonight. Make sure it hits tomorrow morning. The second call was to Sienna. He kept his voice carefully neutral. I've been thinking, he said when she answered. Maybe we should talk. Dinner tonight? A pause. Talk about what? Us. The future. This open marriage idea of yours. He could practically hear her smirk through the phone. Alinea at 8? I'll have the car pick you up at 7:30. Mac ended the call and turned to his computer. On the screen, surveillance photos showed Cruz leaving an upscale gym with an attractive blonde, one of the social media influencers Mac had arranged. The photos would hit Instagram tonight. Perfectly timed at 7:15. Mac entered the private dining room at Alinea. The space was intimate, lit by crystal chandeliers that cast warm light over the hand-painted silk wallpaper. He'd chosen this room for its privacy and its excellent acoustics. Every word would be crystal clear. Sienna arrived at 7:45, fashionably late in a red dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her smile was triumphant as she sat down. You're looking well, she purred. Finally getting enough sleep without me there? Max signaled the sommelier. Cru Grande Cuvée, 2002. Our wedding champagne. Sienna's smile widened. Feeling nostalgic? Something like that. Mac watched as their glasses were filled. You seem happy. I am. Cruz is everything you're not. She took a sip, watching him over the rim. Young, passionate, attentive. And how is the young stallion enjoying his newfound unemployment? Sienna choked on her champagne. What? Mac checked his phone. Oh, you haven't heard? The gym terminated him this morning. Something about inappropriate conduct with clients. He showed her the termination email he'd had forwarded to him. Quite the scandal, apparently. You. Sienna's face flushed. You did this. I haven't done anything. Mac's voice was mild. But it seems your boy toy has been busy. Check Instagram. Sienna grabbed her phone, her fingers trembling as she pulled up Cruz's profile. The photos were there. Cruz with the blonde, looking very cozy indeed. The comments were already flowing. Isn't that Sienna Calloway's trainer? Guess we know why he got fired. This is impossible, Sienna whispered. He wouldn't he? Mac took another sip of champagne. Men like that, they're always looking for the next opportunity. The next stepping stone? He loves me. Does he? Or does he love the lifestyle you provide? The expensive gifts, the access to high society? Mac leaned forward. What happens to that lifestyle now that he's unemployed? The first course arrived, caviar with gold leaf. Sienna didn't touch it. Why did you really invite me here, Mac? To show you something? He pulled out his phone again, pulling up a video. Remember our prenup? The infidelity clause? The color drained from Sienna's face. What infidelity clause? The one that says if either party commits adultery, they forfeit all rights to marital assets. Mac played the video, Sienna's confession from that night, captured perfectly by the home security system. The one that ensures you walk away with nothing. You bastard. Her voice shook. You recorded me? I record everything in my house. You know that. Mac put his phone away. But don't worry. I'm willing to be generous. If you agree to my terms, full custody of the children, a clean divorce, you walk away with a reasonable settlement, enough to maintain appearances. His eyes were arctic. Or we can do this the hard way. The video goes public. along with evidence of every rendezvous with Cruz, every hotel receipt, every security camera footage. Sienna's hand tightened around her champagne glass. You're bluffing. Try me. Max stood. You have 24 hours to decide. Oh, and Sienna? He smiled, cold and sharp. The champagne? It's a 2005, not 2002. I'd never waste our wedding vintage on this conversation. He left her sitting there, her perfect world crumbling around her. In the car, he called Nolan. It's done. Start phase 2. The next week unfolded exactly as Mac had planned. Cruz, desperate after losing his job, began pressuring Sienna for money. Mac's team intercepted their texts, need help with rent. You said you'd take care of me, can't right now. Max watching the accounts, what about the promises you made? The lifestyle you showed me. Each desperate message was a nail in their relationship's coffin. But Mac wasn't done. He had another card to play. You remember Giselle Porter? Mac asked Nolan over lunch at the Chicago Cut Steakhouse. Your ex? The venture capitalist? Nolan's eyes widened. You didn't? She's moving her firm's headquarters to Chicago. Asked me to help find the right property. Mac, that's playing with fire. That's the point. Giselle Porter swept back into Mac's life like a perfectly timed storm. At 33, she was everything Sienna wasn't: brilliant, self-made, and absolutely ruthless in business. The Chicago Tribune ran a piece about her firm's expansion, complete with photos of Mac showing her potential properties. They were seen together at charity galas, business functions, exclusive restaurants. Giselle played her part perfectly, her hand lingering on Mac's arm just a moment too long, her laughter at his jokes just a touch too intimate. The children's hospital benefit. Mac watched Sienna's face as Giselle approached their table in a stunning black gown. Mac, darling. Giselle's voice was honey over steel. It's been too long. Giselle. He stood, kissing her cheek. You remember my wife? Of course. Giselle's smile was perfectly polite. Sienna, right? I loved your Instagram post about. What was it? Yoga? Sienna's knuckles went white around her champagne glass. What are you doing back in Chicago? Business expansion. Your husband's been invaluable in helping me find the perfect location. Giselle touched Mac's arm. We should discuss the downtown property over dinner, Mac. The private room at RPM? I'll have my assistant set it up. Later that night, Mac's phone lit up with texts from Sienna. We need to talk, answer me. Damn it, did I know what you're doing? That he ignored them all. The next morning, Sienna was waiting in his office. Your secretary still remembers me, she said as he walked in. Isn't that sweet? Max set his briefcase down. What do you want? To fix this. She stood, moving closer. We can work this out, Mac. What we have is real. Her voice cracked slightly. Cruz was a mistake. I see that now. Do you? Mac's voice was ice. Or did you see your boyfriend begging for rent money and realize the check isn't as blank as you thought? It's not about money. It's always about money. He sat at his desk, dismissing her. How is Cruz, by the way? I heard he's been seeing one of his former clients. Younger than you, isn't she? Sienna's face flushed. That's not he wouldn't already has. Check the Oak Street Beach Club. He'll be there tonight with her. Mac looked up, his eyes cold. Or don't. I don't really care. What happened to you? Sienna whispered. You've changed? No. I'm exactly who I've always been. You just never paid attention. He pressed the intercom. Susan, please escort Mrs. Calloway out. And update security. She's no longer authorized to enter the building. That night, exactly as Mac had arranged, Sienna found Cruz at the beach club with a young socialite. The scene was spectacular, drinks thrown, screaming matches, security called. By morning, it was all over social media. Mac watched the security footage from his office. Giselle perched on his desk. You're a bastard, she said admiringly. Remind me never to cross you. You never would. He closed the laptop. Thank you for your help with this. Please. Watching Sienna implode? Worth every minute. Giselle stood. Dinner tonight? For real this time? Not yet. Mac's voice was firm. There's still work to be done. His phone buzzed. Nolan. You need to see this, his friend said without preamble. Sienna's brother Jared is trying to access your company records. Looking for dirt. Max smiled. Perfect. Everything was falling into place. Let him look, he said. In fact, Make sure he finds exactly what we want him to find. The game wasn't over, but Mac was winning piece by piece, move by move. And the best part? His opponents still didn't realize they were just pawns on his board. The morning after the beach club incident, Mac sat in his home office, reviewing security footage of the chaos. On his tablet, social media exploded with videos of Sienna's meltdown. She'd arrived at the club looking elegant in a black dress, her composure intact. Then she'd spotted Cruz with the young socialite Olivia Barrett, daughter of a prominent real estate developer, and everything had unraveled. "You lying piece of garbage." Sienna's voice rang through the club's speakers in the footage. "After everything I gave you?" Cruz stood, trying to calm her. "Sienna, you're making a scene?" She grabbed a martini from a nearby table and threw it in his face. "You want a scene? I'll give you a scene." Olivia Barrett backed away, her designer dress splashed with vodka. "Cruz, who is this woman?" "Who am I?" Sienna laughed, the sound brittle and sharp. "I'm the fool who's been paying his bills for the last 3 months." Security moved in as Cruz tried to explain to Olivia, who was already gathering her things. "Baby, it's not what you think." "Don't baby me," Olivia snapped. "My father warned me about guys like you." Mac paused the footage, a cold smile playing at his lips. The timing had been perfect, just enough witnesses to ensure the story spread, just enough drama to make it memorable. His phone buzzed with a text from Giselle. Brutal execution. Dinner to celebrate? Before he could respond, his office door opened. Silas Calloway walked in, his presence commanding even at 64. Years of enforcing mob rules had left him with a predator's grace that age couldn't diminish. "Quite a show last night," Silas said, settling into one of the leather chairs. He nodded at the frozen footage. "Your work just provided the opportunity." Mac turned off the tablet. "They did the rest themselves." Silas studied his son. "The trainer's reputation is finished. Society wives won't touch him now, not after this scandal. But Sienna is just getting started." Mac stood, walking to the window. Outside, Adrian and Tessa played in the garden, their laughter floating up through the glass. The divorce papers go public next week, right after the Chicago Social Magazine runs their piece on Giselle's return. The ex-girlfriend angle. Silas nodded approvingly. "That's my boy. But why wait? You've got her on the ropes." Mac turned to his father. "You taught me this, remember? When you're breaking someone, it's not enough to take everything. You have to make them watch as each piece falls away. Like that job in '82. Silas's eyes gleamed with memory. Guy thought he could skim from the family. By the time we finished, he'd lost his business, his house, his reputation, and everyone knew exactly why. Mac's voice was cold. "Sienna threatened my children. Used them as leverage. That doesn't just get forgiven." "No," Silas agreed. "It doesn't." He stood, his movements deliberate. "You know she'll try something desperate soon. Cornered rats always do." As if on cue, Mac's phone rang. Jennifer Blake. "Your wife's brother just left my office," Jennifer said without preamble. "Tried to blackmail me with supposed evidence of tax fraud in your company." Mac exchanged glances with his father and walked right into it. The documents he found lead straight back to his own real estate fraud. "I've already notified the SEC." "Perfect." Mac ended the call, turning to Silas. Jared took the bait. His father's laugh was appreciative. "The whole family's going down. You've learned well, son." "I had a good teacher." A knock at the door interrupted them. Ellen, the housekeeper, looked apologetic. "Mr. Calloway? Miss Porter is here to see you." Giselle swept in before Mac could respond, elegant in a cream business suit that probably cost more than most cars. Her presence filled the room like expensive perfume, subtle but unmistakable. "Mac, darling." She kissed his cheek, then nodded respectfully to Silas. "Mr. Calloway Sr. Always a pleasure." "Ms. Porter." Silas's eyes twinkled. "Still breaking hearts and closing deals?" "Sometimes both at once." She turned to Mac. "The Chicago social photographer is ready. Shall we give them something to talk about?" Mac checked his watch. "The children's piano lesson ends in 20 minutes. We'll do it in the garden afterward." Giselle's smile was knowing. "Making sure Sienna sees us with them? Cruel. I love it." After she left to talk to the photographer, Silas stood. She's good at this game. She understands revenge, Max said simply. Her ex-husband tried something similar last year. Lost everything in the divorce. Keep her close, Silas advised. But not too close. Remember, trust no one completely. Mac nodded. I remember. The afternoon unfolded exactly as planned. The photographer caught perfect shots of Mac and Giselle with the children in the garden, a beautiful family scene that would drive Sienna mad. Adrian showed off his soccer moves while Tessa picked flowers for Giselle, who played her part flawlessly that BY evening. The photos were already circulating on social media. Mac's phone lit up with messages from Sienna. How dare you parade that woman in front of our children? Answer me, damn it. This is cruel even for you, that I know what you're doing. It won't work. That he forwarded the messages to Jennifer Blake for the custody file, then called Nolan. How's our friend Cruz doing? Packed and ready to run, Nolan reported. The LA job offer was very convincing. Make sure he uses the credit card we tracked. I want to know every move. Already done. But Mac. Nolan paused. Sienna's getting desperate. My sources say she's been meeting with some shady lawyers. Let her. Mac watched as Giselle's car pulled away from the mansion. Everything she tries will just dig her grave deeper. Later that night, after the children were asleep, Mac sat in his study, reviewing the next phase of his plan. The divorce papers would hit the media Monday morning. By afternoon, the story of Sienna's affair and public meltdown would be everywhere. By Tuesday, rumors of Jared's fraud investigation would start circulating. His phone buzzed a text from Giselle. Drinks at Gibson's? We should discuss strategy for tomorrow's charity gala. Mac considered it. Having Giselle at the gala would certainly twist the knife deeper into Sienna's wounds. But something in him held back. This wasn't about replacing one woman with another. This was about destruction, pure and simple. Another time, he replied. Early meeting tomorrow. The response came quickly. All business, no pleasure. Some things never change. Mac put the phone away and walked to the window. Chicago sprawled before him, a jungle of steel and glass that he'd conquered through sheer force of will. He'd built his empire from nothing, fought for every inch of success. Sienna had thought she could take it all away with a few threats and a younger man. She'd forgotten who she was dealing with. Or maybe she'd never really known in the first place. His phone buzzed again, Sienna calling this time. He let it ring, let her stew in her desperation. Let her watch as her world crumbled piece by piece. Let her realize, too late, that she'd started a war she could never win because Mac had learned from the best. His father, the streets, the brutal world of business. You didn't just defeat your enemies, you destroyed them so completely that others would think twice before crossing you. The next morning brought news that Cruz had indeed fled to Los Angeles, leaving behind a trail of angry clients and unpaid bills. Sienna's social circle was already dividing, the wealthy wives taking sides. Most backed away from her, afraid of being tainted by association. Mac watched it all from his office tower, planning his next moves like a chess grandmaster. The game wasn't over yet, but victory was certain. And the best part? His opponents still thought they were players when they'd been pawns all along. The morning sun hadn't yet touched the Chicago skyline when Jennifer Blake's most trusted process server rang the doorbell of Sienna's Lake Forest rental house. Mac watched through the security feed on his phone. Sitting in his Rolls-Royce a block away, the door opened. Sienna stood there in designer loungewear, her carefully maintained image already showing cracks. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled, her makeup not yet applied. Mrs. Calloway. The server's voice came clearly through Mac's earpiece. You've been served. Sienna's face drained of color as she took the thick envelope. Mac zoomed in on his phone, watching her hands shake as she opened it. Her scream of rage echoed down the quiet street. Mac's phone rang immediately. He let it go to voicemail, instead dialing Jennifer Blake. It's done, he said when she answered. She's already calling. Jennifer's voice held a note of admiration. The paperwork is brutal, Mac. Even by my standards. Did you include everything? Full custody petition, financial disclosures showing the hidden accounts, photos of her, indiscretions, plus the video confession about the open marriage. The judge will love that one. Mac's driver pulled away from the curb as Sienna stormed out of her house, still clutching the papers. And the alimony claim? Non-existent. The infidelity clause in your prenup is ironclad. She gets nothing. Perfect. Mac ended the call as another came in. Nolan. She's melting down, his friend reported. Already called 3 lawyers. None will take her case. Because they all work for me. Max smiled coldly. Directly or indirectly. That's not all. Cruz just posted from Los Angeles. Some pool party with models. He tagged Sienna. Thanks for the memories, but LA's more my style. Mac arrived at his office as the sun finally crested the horizon. Susan, his secretary, met him at the elevator. Mrs. Calloway is in your office, she said apologetically. Security tried to stop her, but it's fine. Max straightened his tie. Call Jennifer Blake. Tell her to start recording from my office cameras. He could hear Sienna before he saw her. Her voice raised as she argued on her phone. What do you mean you can't help? She paced by his window. You're my brother, Jared. I need you. Mac waited in the doorway, watching her unravel. Fine. Deal with your own problems. She threw the phone into her designer bag, spinning to face Mac. You bastard. You absolute bastard. Good morning to you too. He walked to his desk, noting how her hands trembled. I see you got my delivery. Delivery? She slammed the divorce papers onto his desk. This is warfare. Taking everything? The house, the accounts, the children. You started this war. Mac's voice was arctic. I'm just better at fighting it. I'll contest everything. I'll tell them what you really are. A cold, controlling workaholic who neglected his family. Will you? Mac opened his laptop, turning it to face her. Let's see what evidence the court might find interesting. Security footage played across the screen. Sienna missing school events for spa days, leaving the children with nannies while she met Cruz, stumbling home drunk from parties. I have years of this, Max said quietly. Every missed parent-teacher conference. Every time you chose yoga over Adrian's soccer games. Every night you didn't come home. Those are private recordings. You can't. My house, my security system. He closed the laptop. But please contest the custody claim. I'm sure the judge will love to see it all. Sienna's legs gave out, and she sank into a chair. Why are you doing this? You threaten my children. Mac's voice could have frozen hell. You thought you could use them as leverage. That's not something I forgive. I'll give you anything, she whispered. The divorce, the money, just not the children. Please. Begging doesn't suit you, Sienna. He pressed his intercom. Security will escort you out. Oh. And one more thing. He smiled cold and sharp. Cruz sends his regards from Los Angeles. She flinched as if he'd struck her. What? Check his Instagram. Quite the pool party he's enjoying. Models everywhere. You didn't think he actually loved you, did you? Security arrived to find Sienna crying, her perfect makeup running down her cheeks. Mac didn't watch as they led her away. He had more important matters to attend to. His phone buzzed a text from Giselle. Heard about the papers. Dinner to celebrate? Not yet, he replied. Still work to do, because this wasn't just about winning. This was about complete and utter destruction, and Mac was just getting started. The next month passed in a blur of legal maneuvers and calculated strikes. Mac watched from his office tower as Sienna's world collapsed piece by piece. First came the social isolation. Chicago's elite, sensing blood in the water, turned their backs on her. Charity boards quietly asked her to step down. Party invitations dried up. Former friends crossed the street to avoid her. The Robinson benefit is tonight, Nolan reported over lunch at Gibson's. She tried to attend. They refunded her ticket. Mac cut into his steak. And Cruz? Living it up in LA? Haven't you seen his posts? Living my best life. Hashtag everything. Make sure Sienna sees them all. The financial strain hit next. With her credit cards canceled and accounts frozen, Sienna's lifestyle crumbled. The Range Rover was repossessed. Designer boutiques declined her business. Then came the housing crisis. Mac waited until she'd missed one payment on the Lake Forest rental before making his move. Buy the mortgage, he instructed his real estate team. Then start eviction proceedings. Sienna showed up at his office again, this time looking decidedly less polished. Her clothes, while still designer, were wrinkled. Her hair showed roots. You can't do this, she said as soon as she burst in. Where am I supposed to live? Mac didn't look up from his paperwork. Not my concern. I'll go to the media. Tell them everything. Please do. Now he looked up, his eyes arctic. Tell them how you cheated with a trainer half your age. How you threatened to take my children. How you tried to extort me. His smile was razor sharp. I'm sure they'll love that story. I'm their mother. A mother who chose pleasure over parenthood. He pressed play on his laptop, and security footage filled the screen. Sienna's sneaking cruise into the house while the children slept, leaving for days at a time, missing Tessa's dance recital for a spa day. I made mistakes, she whispered. But they need me. No. They need stability. Structure. Love. Mac's voice could have frozen fire. All the things you failed to provide. Security arrived before she could respond. This time, they photographed her removal evidence for the custody hearing. The final blow came from an unexpected quarter. Jared, drowning in his own legal troubles, turned on his sister. You can't stay with me, he said when she showed up at his condo. Mac listened through the bug his team had planted. The feds are investigating my deals. I can't handle your drama, too. My drama? Sienna's laugh was hysterical. You're my brother, and you're toxic. Everyone can see it. Just go away, Sienna, before you drag me down, too. Mac played that recording for Jennifer Blake the next day. Beautiful, she said, adding it to their evidence file. The custody hearings next week. Want to bet how long she lasts? The answer was exactly 17 minutes. That's how long it took Judge Morrison to review the evidence and make his decision. The court awards full custody to the father, he intoned, with supervised visitation for the mother at the father's discretion. Sienna collapsed in her chair, her discount suit a far cry from her usual designer wear. Her lawyer, the only one who'd take her case, looked embarrassed. Mac didn't smile. He simply gathered his papers and left, Jennifer Blake beside him. Congratulations, she said in the elevator. Not done yet. Because Mac had learned from his father. You didn't just win, you made sure they could never rise again. 6 months later, Mac stood at the window of his Gold Coast penthouse, watching the sun rise over Lake Michigan. Behind him, the sounds of breakfast and children's laughter filled the air. Daddy, Tessa's voice called. Giselle made Mickey Mouse pancakes. He turned, taking in the scene. His children sat at the breakfast bar, happy and secure. Giselle moved around his kitchen with easy familiarity, wearing one of his dress shirts over designer loungewear. The real estate deal closes today, she said, sliding a coffee across the counter to him. Your tip about the West Loop development was perfect. Mac took a sip, appreciating how naturally she fit into this space. Not as a replacement for what was lost. There was nothing to replace. This was something entirely new, built on mutual respect and understanding. Adrian has soccer at 4, she continued, helping Tessa cut her pancakes. I can take him if you're still in meetings. I'll be there. Mac never missed their events now. Not that he had before, but he made sure every moment was documented. Every game attended, every recital watched, every parent-teacher conference handled. His phone buzzed. Nolan, thought you'd want to know, his friend said without preamble. Sienna's working at that salon in Lincoln Park. Reception desk. Mac had known, of course. He knew everything about her new life, the tiny studio apartment, the bus rides to work, the lonely evenings. The mighty had fallen, and their crash had been spectacular. The Milton Foundation Gala is tonight, Nolan continued. She tried to get a job working it, serving drinks, and they turned her down, but she might show up anyway. You know how she is? Mac ended the call, turning back to his family. Adrian was showing Giselle his math homework, beaming with pride at her praise. Tessa had managed to get syrup in her hair somehow. This was what mattered. This was what he'd protected to the gala that night, was a testament to Chicago's elite. Old money mixed with new. Power brokers made deals over champagne, and everyone who mattered was there. Mac arrived with Giselle on his arm, both of them dressed to kill. She wore burgundy that set off her dark hair. He wore a tuxedo that screamed power and success. Mac, Giselle, Catherine Milton herself approached, air-kissing them both. The children couldn't come? School night, Giselle answered smoothly. Adrian has a math test tomorrow. They made their way through the crowd, accepting congratulations on their recent joint venture in the West Loop. Power couple, they were called. A perfect match. That's when Max saw her. Sienna stood near the service entrance, wearing a cheap approximation of her former style. Their eyes met across the room. She started toward him, desperation in every step. Mac turned to Giselle. "Dance with me?" They moved to the dance floor just as Sienna reached their former position. Mac didn't look back, didn't acknowledge her existence. "Your ex-wife is wearing outlet mall," Giselle murmured against his ear. "How the mighty have fallen. I don't know who you're talking about." Because that was the ultimate victory. Not just destroying your enemies, but erasing them so completely that they became nothing. Less than nothing later, at home, Max stood on his penthouse balcony with a glass of whiskey. The city sparkled below. His city, built on steel and determination and the understanding that mercy was for the weak. Giselle joined him, taking the glass from his hand and sipping it. "Penny for your thoughts?" Mac watched a plane cross the night sky, just thinking about justice. Served cold, with a side of total destruction. She smiled. "You know, most men would have just divorced her." "I'm not most men." "No," she agreed, handing back the whiskey. "You're not. That's why I'm here." Inside, Adrian and Tessa slept soundly in their rooms. Their world was stable, secure, protected by a father who would burn down heaven and earth to keep them safe. And somewhere in a tiny studio apartment, Sienna Calloway, now just Sienna Moore again, looked at old photos and wondered how she'd lost it all, but Mac didn't think about her. She was less than a memory now, just another lesson in what happened to those who dared to cross him. In Chicago's business world. They still called him the Ice King. They had no idea how right they were.